Google. Let's go get them again.
Welcome back to the Robes Away channel. I'm your host, Mark, and on the docket today we have Sampling Samples. It's been a while since I've actually spoken about development, real world testing on a fragrance. I've been doing a lot of unboxings lately on my channel, and I almost said the intro for an unboxing, right? Welcome to a first impression unboxing video. No, it's Sampling Samples. Yes, I have a sample here. I have a full bottle here, but this is from the brand of Mugler. And if you didn't know, Mugler had a upper echelon line. Like, it wasn't just Amen, Alien, and Angel, etc., etc. A lot of people didn't know about this line, which I believe got axed. And this is Les Exceptions. This collection, and this collection can be found at discounters. It's probably at the lowest price I've ever seen it. You can find some testers. I've seen, I think it was one tester on Joma Shop, not affiliate or anything, but I think it was like 50 bucks. It's called Fantastique, I believe, with blue juice, and I'm assuming it's probably not a very good seller because it was like 50 bucks. But a lot of these are available well under $200, which is a really good price. A lot of them are good. This is my bottle of the amber one. I have the leather one, which is called Cuir Impertinent, I believe. This is Ambre Redoutable. But today we are sampling a part of this collection. Not one that I was overly excited about, but one that I do want to delve into. And this one called, it has two names. It changed names during its tenure. I believe it used to be called Oriental Express, which is what my little sample, this is an official sample from the brand. And I think I got this with the purchase of a Mugler release way back when. But it's also known as Oriental Extreme. So either way, it's the same fragrance from what I know, but we'll see. Obviously, my little sample has been drained. And again, sampling samples. So it's kind of weird getting into the rhythm of talking about, it kind of excites me a little bit of doing a sampling samples because I'm talking about real world experience. I was kind of craving it a little bit. So before we get into anything, if you're just stumbling upon my channel, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, especially to my my current subscriber base. Hey, you know, if you're tired of unboxings, you got to hit the like. Let me know what you like. Much appreciated though. All the support, you know, the comments, the likes, everything. Even letting me know what you think about my channel without taking personal shots at me. I really appreciate it. I always take it with, obviously it is my channel, but I love seeing, you know, the feedback. A lot of you, when you give me feedback, some of you are just intrigued, or you just stumbled upon my channel, you kind of want to know what's going on, or why I do certain things. And then there's some that, you know, you really do care about the channel and you want to see different things. So sampling samples, let's go under the hood. I haven't spoken about going under a hood of a fragrance in a very long time. So let's take a look at some stats on this one before I start delving into it. And I'm really intrigued in talking about dry down and stuff like that. I wouldn't say a proper review, it's a sample, but it did give me, you know, a good idea about the fragrance. So this one was released back in 2014. The noses behind this one, we have two noses, two big, well-decorated, and I don't mean big, but like well-decorated noses. Olivier Polge, love what Polge does. And of course, Jean-Christophe Hérault. So two heavily decorated perfumiers. We could call them all-star perfumiers if we want to. Now, the major notes to my nose, the ones that either do a fairly big impact on the fragrance, doesn't mean that it's a, you know, this is an order of power. It just means the ones that I really felt made an impact, and it could be a small impact, but it packs a punch. Now, the notes are vanilla, sandalwood, and carrot seed. So that's what the note breakdown. We should talk about I should post the Fragrantica note breakdown that I do usually with unboxings. So let's delve into this one. Enough chit chat, and let's talk about this one. Again, of course, it's going to be a lot harder to find, but these videos, I feel personally, you know, not being a fragrance reviewer and just being on the outside looking in, I prefer fragrance reviewers that talk about stuff like this because A, I can't go in store and test it. B, it's not available. So basically all I'm doing is I'm grasping as much information as I can before I pull the trigger and do a blind buy. So these videos are actually even more important than a fragrance that you can find in stores. So let's drain this sample. I still actually have quite a bit left. I am wearing it as my scent of the day today. I still have juice in here, but the atomizer doesn't want to say hi. Doesn't want to grab it. All right, well, we're done. So Oriental Express. So how does this fragrance start off for me? It starts off heavy with the vanillic touches. So you're going to get some sweetness off the bat, and some creamy sandalwood is coming through, as well as your base. And there's a little pinch of basil as well. Now the basil is the thing that kind of stands out a little bit, because there's a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of vanilla in here, but what do I mean? I mean, there's a lot of gray, and there's a lot of notes that have, I don't want to say minimal personality, but they don't have much color, right? You got vanilla, sandalwood, carrot seed, things like that really don't have much as far as color. So when you introduce a note like basil and you bring the volume, like if the volume is very much muted and it's a low secondary, it's not going to make much of an impact in the overall perfume. Here, the basil does make an interesting contrast up top. So it gets a little powdery, like, yeah, like it's getting powdery, and it's going to get heavier in the powdery aspect, but it starts getting a little powdery in the start. To the mid of this fragrance, but it continues to push that theme. Now that cream color that I would give this scent, like a beige or cream color of the scent, does continue on. And I say this with the utmost respect, it gets blander as the basil starts to dissipate throughout the mid of this release. The carrot seed does not help as it comes into play as a high secondary note at this point. So as far as color goes, it's not going to help. However, you know, this thing is highly judged by people online as a Dior Homme kind of fragrance, and with Polge at the helm, ooh, okay, we can maybe see a little bit of correlation here. But what the carrot seed does here as a high secondary note at this point of the introduction to the mid, it's going to give its familiar orris root kind of idea. So powdery facets, I'm blaming, like if you're going to blame a note, it is going to be the carrot seed. And it also has earthy tones that it projects as well in this release. Into the mid, the scent profile turns the powder up. So think it goes kind of talky on my skin, honestly. Now it does have some dry aspects, like the sandalwood comes into play. It's not I would say a secondary note, but it's not high on the list. Like this is heavily woody. No, we see the carrot seed as the primary note in this fragrance, and the vanilla almost taking a back seat to the carrot seed and the sandalwood. So honestly, at this point in the mid, you know, even though the vanilla came out to give out its familiar sweetness up top and its creaminess, you start losing a lot more vanilla, and it's more the third piece out of this three-piece fragrance. The carrot seed's your primary, the sandalwood's your secondary, and your vanilla's your third. Basil was in there, but it's for a short period of time to give it a little bit of color up top, which was an interesting piece, but at the end, it starts getting a little blander in regards to that. Now more into the deeper mid of this release. The one thing, the testing with this fragrance was all over the place because I started testing this start of summer, and it's probably not the best time to test it. And then I finished the testing on this, of course, in the cusp of fall here to winter here in Canada. So the testing notes on this one is all over the place, honestly. It's a great way to test actually a sample. Not too many people are going to do that personally, and it's just a rare occasion for me to that there was a huge gap in testing. But the one thing I noticed later in this testing, and I mean the testing that I did just recently in the fall and winter season, is in the dry down, the vanilla aspect almost got into a resinous touch, like almost like a benzoin amber things like that, but it's very minimal. So that's a huge, you know, when fragrance reviewers say that, I perk up. Oh, okay, but how big is it? It's not very big. It's just a smidgen. So just keep that in mind because it does give personality to the fragrance, but it's there just to say that it's there. It's definitely not an ambery fragrance. I wouldn't call it that. Perhaps you can, but it has a little bit of that brown hue that you're almost, honestly, at that point, I was grasping for it. I was like, please, I want more of that personality in this fragrance. And it was very minimal. So overall, Oriental Express, as far as my testing goes and as far as the sample goes, the scent intrigued me a bit. It's definitely not what I come to expect from the brand. I don't expect this kind of format from Mugler. When I think Mugler as a brand, and you see my Muglers beside me here, obviously the Amen DNA is the huge piece of Mugler, Angel as well, and Alien. And what you expect from this brand is heavy synthetics, big bold fragrances. And this is on the flip side. This is almost going into luxe or classiness from the brand of Mugler. Like, you don't expect that from the brand. So there was an air of you can dress this fragrance up, definitely. It's one of those. I expect synthetics, I expect gourmands. Now, of course, there's always, you know, there's that box that you put in a fragrance brand, but there's always like little pieces here and there, like Mugler Cologne, which is more, you know, obviously a more versatile fragrance from the brand, a soapy release. And I would say the personality of this one really matches that Mugler Cologne in regards to, I don't think the versatility is there, but I think as far as dressing it up and it's easy on the nose, I believe this is one. Unless you don't like powdery scents, I don't think this is for you personally. But this particular release is very artistic, but also very gray as a color, very beige as a color of a scent. And I think, you know, some reviewers online that compare this to Dior, I think it got compared to Dior Homme Intense. No, DHI has much more personality to it. It has a lot of, Dior Homme is much more classy, but it doesn't have colors. And this is where this one kind of falls in. Is it Dior Homme? It's in the same category, but not as good. Like, I prefer, and I'm talking about the original Dior Homme. I'm not talking about what's on the market today, unfortunately. So Orientals are usually darker as a rule of thumb, not made like this. But, you know, correlating this fragrance profile versus what Polge has done, you know, obviously before going to Chanel, he created Dior Homme. And this has a little bit of that DNA, that reference here. And it even has a little bit of Chanel. Like, it's not up to that standard. It's not as clean. And what do I mean by like clean? Like, as far as Chanel and Dior, and mostly Chanel, they really are almost perfectionists in regards to, you know, jagged edges. You don't get much with Chanel. And any perfume head will know what I mean, is that they're very well balanced. If there is a change or a scent change in the fragrance mid, it's going to be almost a flawless transition. So Chanel is almost like a master of that. Dior's right there. Hermes is there as well. And Mugler is not, you know, I think, and it's not Polge's fault. I really think that if the creative direction at Mugler at that time and point would push him a little bit more to clean this thing up a little bit, it would be at that level. So that is one thing to think about when you're reviewing fragrances is, okay, who are the noses? What are their reputation? What can they do? What's their Rolodex? What have they done in the past? What has inspired this? And even the creative direction of the brand. What is the back end of Mugler? What is their bread and butter? And this is kind of like one of those one-offs that is very interesting. However, it's there, it's really good, but it's not at that point that it's, you know, against the big boys in regards to, I would say, Dior Homme in regards to that. So let's take a look at Seasons Day Night Versatility and Performance as my suggestion. So let's take a look at Seasons first, and I would say this would be great. It did much better, of course, in my recent testing than my testing in the summer. Obviously, with the powdery aspects and the denseness of this fragrance, these kind of fragrances really bog down in the summer. They don't go very well with the heat. And this is no stranger to that. I would say the best season for this is fall, but you can extend it from fall, winter, and start of spring. I think it would work well. I think it's a tweener fragrance, and what do I mean by that is the spring and fall, where the weather, especially in Canada here, fluctuates so much, right? In the fall and in the spring, you could have a really cold morning, and I mean like you have to wear a coat to it's warming up during the day to again dipping down. Fall and spring do those kind of things, and these kind of scents, tweeners, do well that it's not super high heat, super cold, it's just perfect. They really do well in those seasons. Day or night, I feel like this is a daytime scent. It doesn't have, like, you can wear it, dress it up, like for a male or a female, first of all. Wearing a tux with this would work well. To, you know, a gown or something, it would work well in the evening. But mostly this kind of fragrance is dress up, dress down. It could be an office wear scent. It can be a casual wear scent. The versatility is pretty high, and that's our next category, which is versatility. Let's get into that. Versatility is high. There is some restrictions to it. Obviously, powderiness, things like that. In the high heat, I would restrict it. Yeah, versatility is fairly high for a scent profile like this. Performance. The performance on this was actually fairly good. It's right where I want a fragrance to be. It's not going to be beast mode, but performance, longevity. When I was wearing this thing, it was 6 to 9 hours. Any given wearing, which is very good. Like, I prefer a 7 to 9. But this is as good as it can with the average projection. So it's not a beast off the skin. So just keep that in mind. It is more of a, people are close to you enough that they will smell you, but it's one of those that will invite people closer to you to see those small nuances. Like, really at arm's length, like over here, they will smell the powderiness, the earthiness, a little bit of, you know, those parts, but the interesting parts, right? The basil, the sandalwood, you know, that caramelic hue that vanilla can do, that was very minimal. The closer they get to you, they will get those small, very interesting nuances. It's very gray and beige from an arm's length, but coming closer, then you start seeing some of those nuances. When you put it closer to your nose, you start getting those small nuances that makes the scent way more interesting than what it really is. So my final thoughts on this one are that Oriental Express has some interesting parts. It's well crafted by 2 master perfumiers. You can tell there's a lot more Polge in here than Hero. A lot more. It's very much, as far as their resumes, I can see a lot of Polge in here. He was the main man on this project. Knowing that this line was axed by Mugler, I don't have that FOMO in me when I was wearing this to go online, find a bottle, and purchase this near retail or more than retail, especially if it's really hard to find. That's what happens. However, if one bottle comes into play that is well below retail at a heavy discount, someone's selling off some bottles and this can be a throw-in. It's not a primary that I would go, like, let's say on a Facebook group and someone has half a bottle, they're selling it for like 120 bucks. I wouldn't jump at that occasion. However, if somebody had a bottle of this, or not this, but this particular fragrance for, let's say, 100 bucks, but they also have something that's really interesting to me for a good price and bundle them and I get a discounted price, then I may jump and get this one and snatch it. That's where I'm at with this release. I don't have that, this one's gonna be gone forever, I better snatch this one up. No. And as far as collecting this line, even though I already have 2, you know, this is not on the top of my list. I still want to test out some more from this line. I believe the next one I really want to test is Hot Cologne, which is obviously a spin-off of the Mugler cologne. which I believe has coffee in it. I really want to test that one out. So at the end of the day, an okay release from Mugler, like not a dud in any shape, way, or form. I think it's a step down from like a Dior Homme DNA. I really think that, you know, even the Wobo line does a really good job with the Dior line. That I really think that this one is kind of like a step a little below that. So I am gonna give it a score, which is weird. I haven't given a score for anything in months. Out of 10, and I give a score off this sample. It gave me, you know, 2 or 3 wearings, give or take, and it's just basically out of 10 because you never know if I'm ever going to talk about this fragrance again. So I'm going to kind of give you like something. Honestly, if you're new to my channel, an 8 is basically 8 out of 10 is really the start of, yeah, I'm going to get a bottle of this later on. So if I had to give this a score currently, as of today, with my experience with this, I would give it a 7 bottles out of 10. Again, it just rings true of exactly what I said previous to this, is that it's one of those bottles that I wouldn't mind adding it to the collection. I think it would be a nice piece to have as a collector and all that. But with a guy with a collection like this, is it a standout? No. So it's a 7 out of 10. A very good release. Something that's kind of out of the box of Mugler, which I really appreciate that they do go outside the box a little bit with some of these releases, but not good enough personally for that FOMO in me to go online and search out a bottle on its own. Now that you heard my take, I'd love to see yours in the comments below. Good, bad, and the ugly. I absolutely love seeing those, especially with fragrances like this that no press, no one's talking about this. All that good stuff. I love doing videos like these. And these are the kind of videos that I get kind of hit on by people that don't like me or my channel, saying, oh, look at his videos. He gets like 300 views on these and that. Well, yeah, it's because I do stuff like this. Like, if you used your brain, like, I know you're trying to take shots at me, but no other reviewer would be doing a video like this in 2024 on a fragrance like this for views, look at my channel, look at my top 10s, look at things like Vibrato that I just did, look at things like the Creed that I did. Am I still hitting, you know, thousands of views? Yes, I am. But people like to take shots at a guy that's, you know, trying to help out people with fragrances like these. But I can't wait to see if anybody has tested this fragrance. Thoughts, good or bad? Do you think I think it's compared to Dior Homme Intense, which I don't see that correlation personally, but I'd love to see those takes in the comments below. And as always, a great pour fragrance will make a lasting impression. Choose your scent wisely. Thanks for watching, YouTube. Have a good one.